Archangel Michael says, "This is not something that simply appeared by chance, nor is it a random moment that fell into your path without meaning, for what you are witnessing right now, what you are being called to feel and understand deep within your soul, is something far greater than a coincidence, for this is a divine invitation wrapped in heavenly urgency, meant only for your heart and no one else's. Because God has been gently whispering to you, trying to reach you, and though you may have looked away once, He has not stopped pursuing you with the kind of love that never gives up." Type 1818 to claim miracles. Heaven saw how weary your heart had become, how the weight of unspoken burdens pressed against your chest like stones too heavy to carry alone, and in the quiet of night, when no one knew the silent cries within you, God did, and He sent this moment again, not because He is angry or disappointed, but because He still believes in your healing, your rising, and your restoration more than anyone ever has. And this moment is heaven's second knock on your door, asking you to open your heart before the clock strikes midnight. You may not realize it now, but there have been soft signs around you, sacred moments that seemed like passing feelings or strange timings, but they were little sparks of divine timing placed gently in your days to remind you that God has not forgotten you, and even though you might have dismissed the message before, this is His merciful hand reaching once again to say, "My child, it is not too late, I am still here, and I am still calling you by name." Subscribe to this channel if you really love God. Sometimes the noise of the world drowns out the holy whispers of heaven, and your heart, surrounded by pain, confusion, or silence, forgets how it feels to be wrapped in the warmth of God's embrace. But even then, even in your quietest despair, your Father never looked away, not for a moment, not even when you walked into places that pulled you farther from the peace you were longing for deep within. What if a simple 7-minute sound frequency could awaken a forgotten brain signal designed to pull wealth toward you like a magnet? Backed by shocking CIA files and neuroscience, this discovery is now changing lives everywhere. Think of debts melting away, promotions arriving, and abundance flowing freely. Click the link in video description and comments below to experience the hidden wealth wave and let your financial destiny shift in your favor today. Tonight carries more than just passing hours, it carries something sacred, a window of grace that has opened again just for you, because the Lord knows the exact second when your heart is ready, and though you may think this is just another video, another message, another moment like the rest, your spirit knows that this is different, because something inside you has paused. Something within you is listening now in a way it didn't before, and that is where the miracle begins. God never sends warnings wrapped in fear, He sends them wrapped in mercy, in gentleness, in second chances that feel like a warm blanket to the soul that has been shivering too long in cold confusion. And when He says, "Come," He doesn't mean come with perfection, or with answers, or with strength you don't have. He means come just as you are, tired or broken, unsure or afraid, because His love was never based on what you could give back. It was always a gift, freely offered and faithfully poured out. Type 1111 if you agree. This message, the one you skipped before, was not lost in the wind, because God doesn't allow His promises to fade just because of one missed moment. He stores them, He waits, and He brings them back when your heart is tender enough to hold them. And now, here He is again, asking you not to walk past this moment a second time, because something holy is waiting to unfold. Something that carries healing for the wounds you never told anyone about. He knows how long you've carried the weight of things no one could see, the battles in your mind, the ache in your chest when the world kept spinning but you felt stuck in place, and He is not coming to punish or judge or shame you. He is coming to lift you, to gather your tears like precious pearls, and to remind you that the hands that shaped the stars are the same hands ready to hold your story with care, with compassion, and with eternal love. There are moments in life when everything feels like too much, when even faith feels far away and hope seems like a dream someone else can have but not you, and it is in those very moments that God comes closest, not with loud declarations or thunder in the sky, but with a soft presence that finds you exactly where you are, gently whispering, "You are still mine, and I have not let go of you." So if your heart is stirring now, if your eyes are softening, if a tear is beginning to rise and you're not sure why, know this: it is because the Spirit of the Lord is moving near you, not in judgment, but in mercy, not with pressure, but with peace, and He is saying that your time is not up, your story is not over, and though you skipped the message last time, He waited, and now He is asking again, open this before midnight, for divine timing has arrived. This is not a message to fear, but a message to feel, a sacred reminder that grace doesn't expire, and love doesn't retreat, and even when you've missed 1,000 chances, heaven will still send one more, just for you, because the love of Jesus does not count your failures, it gathers them, heals them, and covers them in compassion so deep, you will forget what shame ever felt like. You were not forgotten. You were not abandoned. You are still called, still chosen, still pursued by the one who holds eternity in His hands and yet still chooses to knock on your heart with the gentleness of a father who will never force his way in, but will always wait for you to open the door, even if it's only a crack. Let this be that crack, that moment, that surrender, because the divine timing of this hour is not about pressure, but about presence. It is the very heartbeat of heaven aligning with yours, and the moment you welcome it, something sacred will begin to shift within your life in ways your soul has been crying out for, even when your voice could not speak it aloud. Type Amen if you believe. Archangel Michael says, when the Lord speaks to your heart not once but twice, it means heaven has circled this moment as sacred, not to frighten you but to remind you that you are seen by the Almighty, that your journey is not invisible, and your tears are not falling into emptiness, because the Creator of the heavens and the earth has been watching you walk through seasons you did not understand, and though your faith felt small, His love for you never wavered even once. There are moments, precious and rare, when time itself feels like it slows down for just a breath, and in that breath, God speaks without words, gently stirring something deep inside you that has been silent for far too long, and now, once again, He is trying to tell you that something is approaching, something your soul has been waiting for even when your mind was unaware. Because there are divine appointments set in motion long before you were ever broken, and they arrive not when you expect them but when you most need them. This message is not just a call to listen, it is a lifeline sent from the heart of God to the center of your pain, reaching into the places you've tried to keep hidden, the places that ache quietly even when you smile outwardly, and the reason you're here now, the reason these words have found you again, is because grace does not give up at your first no, and love does not walk away just because you were distracted the first time it came. God has always worked through divine timings that the world cannot understand, and He often moves in silence, not because He is distant, but because He is drawing your heart to stillness, where the clutter of fear and the noise of doubt can no longer drown out His voice, and in that stillness, He is whispering to you now, not through thunder, but through tenderness, reminding you that you are still part of His promise, still held by His mercy, still invited into something beautiful you thought you had missed. What if you could unlock a secret brain wave that top scientists discovered inside the hippocampus, the very switch that signals wealth and abundance? Hidden from the public for decades, this breakthrough can rewire your mind to attract prosperity faster than you imagined. Picture the stress of bills replaced with financial freedom and new opportunities. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate this ancient money wave and step into abundance today. You may feel like too much time has passed, or like you've failed too many times, or like your story has wandered too far from His light, but the truth is, God does not keep score the way the world does. He sees not where you've fallen, but where you're willing to rise, and He is the God of new chances, not just second ones, but third and fourth and as many as your soul needs, because His love does not wear out. It only grows deeper with your need for Him. When He says, "Open this before midnight," He is not speaking to your clock but to your spirit, asking you to not delay the healing that has been waiting to enter your life, asking you not to wait another season to allow Him into the places that have felt forgotten. And though midnight may come and go on a watch, in heaven's language, midnight is the moment your heart opens. Midnight is the second you say, yes, to being held again. There are battles you faced that no one knew about, quiet storms that kept you up at night, wondering if peace was ever coming, and while others may have only seen your strength, God saw your shaking hands, your trembling faith, your efforts to keep going even when everything inside you felt like giving up, and He honors every step you took in secret, every prayer you didn't know how to finish, and every tear you wiped away alone. Type 2222 to open the door to new blessings. This divine timing is not about warning you of destruction, it is about calling you into redemption, into protection, into a place where your soul can finally rest and your heart can breathe again, because the Lord has seen the plans being formed against you. He has watched the darkness trying to wrap around your joy, and He is stepping in now not to stop you, but to shield you, to lift you, to carry you across the threshold of pain into a place of new beginnings. You are not here by accident, and you did not stumble upon this by mistake. Heaven has drawn you into this moment again because there are doors opening now that were once closed, and this message is your gentle push to step through them, not in fear but in faith, because what God has prepared for you is not based on your perfection, but on His promise, and that promise has never changed. He is not tired of your struggle. He is not impatient with your doubts. He is not shocked by your questions or your silence or your distance. He is only waiting for the moment your heart says, "Lord, I don't know how, but I want you," and when that moment comes, His Spirit floods your life like light breaking through long nights, like the warmth of morning after a bitter storm, and in that presence, every fear, every lie, every chain begins to fall away. Let this be that moment. Let this be the midnight of your soul where the night ends and the new day begins, not because everything is fixed in an instant, but because you are no longer walking alone, because heaven has drawn near to you, not tomorrow, not next week, but now, in this sacred space where the Lord of all creation bends low just to whisper to you, I have come for you, and I will not leave you behind. This is not just a video. This is not just a message. This is a holy rescue, written in the language of compassion, carved from the heart of a Savior who would rather come again and again than risk letting you miss the beauty that is still waiting for you, the healing that still belongs to you, and the future that has not been cancelled by your pain, but rewritten by His grace. Archangel Michael says, when the Father in heaven tries to reach you more than once, when He sends His message again despite the silence you gave Him the first time, you must understand that this is not because you failed to respond, but because His love has never been dependent on your ability to notice Him. It has always been rooted in His everlasting decision to never give up on you, no matter how far your heart may have wandered. Type 2121 if you trust God's plan for your life. There are moments when time itself feels like it holds its breath, when the world slows down and something within your soul starts to stir even before your mind understands why, and it is in those sacred pauses, like this very moment, that heaven chooses to lean close to you again, not because you are in trouble, but because you are in transition, moving from one chapter of your life into something much deeper, something much more beautiful, something that your pain has unknowingly been preparing you for. You did not miss your chance, you did not ruin what was meant for you. The message that passed you by once is now wrapped in grace and returned to you again, because the timing of heaven does not punish, it pursues, and the divine voice of your Creator knows exactly when your heart is tender enough, humble enough, and desperate enough to finally receive the healing you never thought possible. You may think this message is for someone else, someone holier, someone stronger, someone who has it all together, but God would not have guided you here, would not have stirred something sacred in your spirit, if it was not meant for you, because the Lord does not make mistakes with His timing, and He would never awaken your heart if He was not ready to pour something holy into it. There has been a silence in your life that no song could fill, a loneliness that followed you even in crowded rooms, a feeling of being seen but never truly known, and God, your loving Father, has seen it all, not from a distance, but from beside you, walking through your quiet struggles, sitting with you in your hidden sadness, never once leaving your side even when you thought He was nowhere to be found. Sometimes the greatest battles are the ones fought in secret, the ones where you smiled on the outside but wept behind closed doors, the ones where you kept showing up for others while wondering who would show up for you, and in those unseen moments, the Lord was closer than breath, watching not your failures, but your faithfulness, not your shame, but your longing to be held. And now, He is trying again. He is coming to you once more, through this divine pause in your life, not because He needs you to fix everything, but because He longs for you to know that you were never expected to carry all of this alone, and what you feel now, that stirring in your soul, that ache that feels like both sorrow and relief, is heaven saying, "This is your moment, I am here, and I have not forgotten what I promised you." The pain you've carried was never meant to be permanent. The delays you faced were never meant to deny you. The nights you cried yourself to sleep were never invisible to the one who formed your heart with His hands, and though you may feel like this life has been too harsh, too chaotic, too broken, God has never once stopped writing redemption into every corner of your story. Type 2020 to embrace joy and strength in Christ. You are not beyond restoration. You are not too late for the miracle. You are not disqualified from the blessing. In fact, your scars are not your shame, they are your proof that you have survived battles others will never understand, and the God who brings beauty from ashes is preparing now to breathe over your ashes again, to show you that even the places you thought were wasted are about to bloom with holy purpose. Let your heart rest for a moment. Breathe slowly. This is not a warning to fear. This is an invitation to come closer, to fall into the arms of a Savior who knows how fragile you've become, who has waited patiently for this very second when you would be ready to open the door, not just because it's midnight on the clock, but because it's midnight in your soul, and the light of His presence is ready to pour into the dark. He's not asking you for perfection. He's not asking you for answers. He's asking only for your openness, for you to admit that you are tired, and that you are ready for something more than what this world has offered you so far, and that simple, trembling surrender is enough to awaken the power of heaven on your behalf. What if you discovered a tiny, walnut-sized brain region holds the secret to endless wealth and success? Recently uncovered by groundbreaking research and once buried in classified files, this frequency is now available to anyone ready to listen. Imagine replacing worry and struggle with a life of financial ease and freedom. Interested? Click the link in video description and comments below to unleash this hidden brain wave and start attracting wealth right now. This message is not here to make you panic. It's here to make you pause. It's here to cradle your heart like the gentlest lullaby, reminding you that your name is still written in heaven, your tears are still collected by angels, and your healing has already begun the moment you chose to listen this time instead of turning away like before. You are not too broken. You are not forgotten. You are not beyond reach. You are exactly who this moment was made for, and if you lean into this holy stillness, if you open your spirit even just a little, you will begin to feel what you haven't felt in years, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, a hope that doesn't shrink in sorrow, and a love so powerful, so unshakable, that it will rewrite every part of you that believed you were too far gone. You are here because heaven arranged it. You are here because divine timing never fails. You are here because God still wants you, still loves you, and still sees something in you that you've stopped seeing in yourself, and that is why, with all the urgency of love and none of the weight of fear, He is saying one more time, open this before midnight, because what's waiting on the other side of this moment is not punishment, but promise, and it belongs to you. Type Amen if you believe in God's endless mercy. Archangel Michael says, there is a sacred urgency woven into this moment, not the kind that rushes you with fear, but the kind that awakens something long forgotten in your soul, something holy and hidden that has been quietly waiting to be seen, because the one who created you has been gently knocking at the door of your heart, not to demand anything from you, but to give you something so tender, so healing, and so necessary for the path ahead, that heaven refused to let you miss it a second. Time. The truth is, some moments in life are louder than others, not because they come with noise, but because they carry the weight of destiny, the pull of mercy, and the warmth of divine presence, and this is one of those moments, wrapped not in thunder but in compassion, sent from the heart of a God who still believes in your future, even if you've stopped believing in it yourself. You may have skipped this message before, not out of rebellion, but because your heart was tired, your mind overwhelmed, and your soul unsure if hope could ever find you again. But the beautiful truth about God's love is that it never counts how many times you've turned away, it only keeps count of how many times He's willing to come back for you, and He is back again now, not with disappointment, but with divine determination to rescue what still belongs to you. There are things you've let go of, not because you didn't care, but because life wore you down so quietly that you no longer had the strength to hold on, and now, like a gentle wind after a long drought, the Lord is moving through your spirit, not to take from you, but to restore what was once stolen, to breathe life back into the places within you that have been silently aching for resurrection. He has seen how strong you've had to be, not the kind of strength the world praises, but the silent, quiet strength of holding yourself together when everything inside was unraveling, of praying even when you weren't sure He was listening, of carrying burdens you never told anyone about, and it is that hidden strength that has touched the heart of heaven, so much so, that God could not let this midnight pass without reaching out one more time. This is not just a second chance, it is a sacred moment of alignment, where heaven meets earth in your life again, where your name is being whispered in places unseen, and where angels are being sent to stand guard around you, not because of your perfection, but because of your pain, because your Father in heaven does not measure you by your mistakes, but by how much you still long for Him, even in your weakest hour. There is something unfolding now, something invisible but real, something so divine that even your silence cannot stop it, because the promises of God are not built on your ability to be consistent, they are built on His nature to never let go, to never walk away, and to never let a wounded heart suffer without sending help wrapped in holy timing. Type 1919 if you believe healing is yours. So, if your soul is trembling, if your heart is heavy, if your tears have begun to fall without understanding why, it's because the atmosphere around you is shifting, the spiritual realm is moving on your behalf, and your spirit recognizes what your mind cannot explain, that this is a holy visitation, sent not to burden you, but to lift you, to heal you, to awaken you from the numbness you've been stuck in for far too long. You have not been forgotten, not for a second. Even in your loneliest hours, when you felt unseen, unworthy, or too broken to be chosen again, God was still with you, still calling your name through the noise, still watching over you with the kind of love that doesn't shout, but shelters, the kind of love that doesn't demand, but delivers, the kind of love that waits patiently for the moment your heart would dare to open again. This midnight is not like the last one. This message is not like the one you ignored before. Your heart is different now. Your eyes are softer now. Your spirit, though tired, is ready now. And that readiness, even if it's fragile, even if it's small, is more than enough for God to begin a miracle that only He could write into your story. Do not think for a second that your pain has been wasted. Do not believe the lie that your waiting has been in vain. Every tear you've cried, every battle you've faced, every sleepless night you've endured has been seen, counted, and honored by the God who weeps when you weep and rejoices when you rise, and right now, He is reaching into your life again, not to remind you of where you've failed, but to show you where you are still destined to flourish. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven does. You may not feel brave enough yet, but grace does not require bravery. It simply asks for honesty, for the quiet courage to say, "Lord, I need you," and that whisper, that admission, that surrender is the very moment heaven begins to move in ways you cannot predict, because God has always done His greatest work in those who have nothing left to offer but their open hearts. Let this be that moment. Let this be the holy pause where time no longer controls you, where fear no longer silences you, and where love finally reaches you without resistance. You have nothing to prove to the one who already knows your soul. You have only to receive what He is trying to give: comfort, clarity, healing, peace, and the sweet restoration of everything you thought was lost for good. Open your heart before midnight, not because something terrible will happen if you don't, but because something beautiful is waiting if you do, and this time, don't walk past it, don't hesitate, don't let the world distract you again. This is your divine moment. And heaven has chosen it just for you. Type "I love God" to claim abundance through God's love. Archangel Michael says, "You may not realize it yet, but the very fact that your heart is beating in this hour, that your eyes are reading these words right now, is living proof that your name was not forgotten in heaven, that your presence still matters in ways you cannot measure, and that God's divine plan has not skipped over you, even if it has felt like life passed you by in seasons you could not control." This message may have reached you once before, gently knocking at the door of your spirit, and in that moment, you may not have had the strength, the clarity, or even the belief to respond, but God, in His mercy, did not turn away, did not cross your name off the list of those He still fights for, but instead, He returned once more, bringing this message back into your hands, not to remind you of your hesitation, but to give you another moment to step into something sacred. There are seasons in your life that have left you bruised, not only from what happened, but from the way it lingered inside you, how the pain wrapped itself around your thoughts, your decisions, your hopes, and although no one could fully see the weight you carried, heaven saw it all, every invisible ache, every quiet tear, every time you smiled while silently breaking, and now the one who watched it all unfold is stepping into your life again to say, "It does not end like this." Your delay did not cancel your destiny. Your hesitation did not erase your healing. Your moment of silence did not close the door of heaven. If anything, it opened it wider, because God, in His gentle and infinite wisdom, has been preparing something far greater behind the scenes, something that could only come together when your heart was finally soft enough to receive what once felt too impossible to believe. And now that softness is here, like a tender morning after a long storm, and though you may still feel unsure, fragile, or unworthy, that is the very posture in which grace flows most freely, not into proud hands, but into trembling ones, not into those who feel powerful, but into those who whisper, "Lord, I cannot do this without you." There is a divine shift taking place even as you breathe, a sacred unraveling of the heaviness that has gripped your life for too long, and the Spirit of the Lord is moving gently but surely through the broken places within you, lifting the weight, breaking the chains, and whispering softly, "You are still mine, and you are still worthy of the promises I made over your life." The world may have made you feel forgotten. People may have disappointed you. Circumstances may have crushed your spirit, but not a single one of those things changed God's plans for you, because the one who authored your story does not rewrite it based on your mistakes. He rewrites it through mercy, through second chances, through quiet, holy moments like this where the darkness begins to loosen its grip and light begins to pour in. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. If you were, this message would not have found you again. The heavens would not have stirred this moment into existence. The Holy Spirit would not be whispering to you now, urging you not to delay any longer, because something is about to be restored in your life that you had already mourned as gone. Type 1111 if you believe heaven is listening. What if the missing piece to financial success wasn't luck, but a hidden frequency inside your brain waiting to be switched on? Once activated, this ancient signal unleashes waves of prosperity, opening doors to opportunities you never thought possible. From sudden windfalls to long-awaited breakthroughs, it's transforming lives daily. Want to see how? Click the link in the video description and comments below to tap into the Money Magnet brain wave and begin your journey today. This is not a message meant to frighten or pressure you. This is an invitation, a lifeline, a reminder that you are deeply known and fully loved, and that your Father in heaven has not stopped calling your name, even when you've stopped calling His. This is your midnight, not the end of something, but the turning point, the breath before the breakthrough, the soft whisper before the storm ends. He is not asking you to figure it all out. He is not expecting you to clean up your heart before you come. He is simply asking that you open the door, that you allow Him to meet you in your now, not your future, not your past, but your raw, present moment where everything feels uncertain and your heart is hanging by threads. If you knew what was waiting on the other side of this surrender, you would not hesitate. You would run. You would fall into His arms and never let go. But even if you don't see the full picture, even if your trust has been shattered by disappointment, He still invites you gently, never forcing, never rushing, but always calling, always loving, always hoping that you will say, "Yes, Lord, I want to be held again." Open your heart before midnight, not because of a deadline, but because of a destiny, not because something bad will happen if you don't, but because something beautiful has already been planned if you do, and the only thing standing between your heart and that miracle is a single moment of surrender. You are not meant to carry this pain into another day. You are not meant to stay in survival mode. You were made to rise. You were made to walk in peace. You were made to heal. And the time to begin is now, in this holy moment where God has chosen to remind you that nothing is wasted, that love still covers all, and that the door to your miracle has not closed. This is divine timing. This is mercy finding you. This is heaven coming close one more time, not because it has to, but because love always comes back for the ones it refuses to lose. Archangel Michael says, there are moments in a soul's journey when everything that once felt clear begins to blur, when the path ahead seems hidden beneath the weight of sorrow or confusion, and in that quiet space between yesterday's wounds and tomorrow's hopes, the voice of the Lord speaks again, not in noise, not in force, but in stillness, asking you to trust the sacred moment He has brought you into once more. Because this is not a coincidence, this is not an accident, this is heaven reaching into your life again because something holy is waiting to unfold within you. Sometimes life hardens you in places you didn't know could break, and slowly, without realizing it, you begin to build walls where love once lived, silence where prayer once flowed, and hesitation where faith once walked freely. But even in those hidden places where you've buried your trust, even in the corners of your soul where you thought hope could never bloom again, the Spirit of God has been moving softly, patiently, waiting for the exact moment when your heart would begin to open without fear. You may not recognize how ready you are, but heaven does. You may not feel strong enough to believe again, but your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten, that you are loved beyond measure, seen without judgment, and held by a God who will not stop pursuing you until the very last breath of your life. Type 999 if you trust Jesus with all your heart. The message you missed before was never a lost opportunity. It was a seed planted. And now, in the perfect timing of the Lord, that seed is being watered with mercy, with compassion, with a divine longing to see you whole again, not because you earned it, but because the love of Christ is not transactional, it is eternal, and it does not retreat when you stumble, it rushes toward you with open arms. You may be afraid to hope again. You may have made peace with your pain, accepting it as part of your identity, but the truth is, you were never created to carry despair as your permanent companion, and the ache inside you, the one you've tried to silence, is not your enemy, it is your soul crying out for the healing that heaven is offering you right now. Don't run from this moment. Don't dismiss it. Don't let another midnight come and go without responding, not because God is angry, but because His mercy is reaching its hand out one more time, and He wants you to know that even in your doubt, even in your distance, even in your despair, you are still invited into the fullness of the love that never forgets your name. The world may have told you that your story is too messy, that your heart is too complicated, that your past is too heavy to be rewritten, but none of those voices belong to the God who formed you, the God who has seen every chapter of your life and still calls you beloved, still calls you chosen, still calls you His. This message is not here to force you into anything. It is here to free you from everything. From the lies. From the guilt. From the shame. From the loneliness that crept in like fog and stayed longer than it was ever welcome. You were not meant to live in survival forever. You were meant to rest. To breathe. To be healed. To walk in peace that no storm can steal. You may wonder if it's too late. But the very reason you are here, the very breath in your lungs right now, is proof that time has not expired on your promise, that your life still holds the space for transformation, that heaven still has plans that involve you, bless you, strengthen you, and send you forward with power you thought you lost. You may feel tired. That's okay. You may feel weak. That's okay. The Lord does not expect you to come to Him in perfection. He simply asks that you come, with trembling hands, with a guarded heart, with questions and scars and weariness, because He does not meet you with judgment, He meets you with understanding, and what waits on the other side of your surrender is not a demand, but a deep, gentle rest for your soul. Let tonight be different. Let this not be another message you scroll past. Let this not be another divine moment you silence because the pain feels louder. Instead, let this be the moment when you dare to believe again. When you let the tears fall. When you whisper a prayer you forgot how to pray. When you feel the warmth of something eternal wrap around the cold places within you and begin to melt the fear that's been living there for too long. This is divine timing. Not the world's timing. Not your timing. But God's. And He never arrives late. He never shows up uninvited. He never forces His way into your life. He waits until the moment is right. Until the heart is open. Until the silence becomes sacred. Until the midnight becomes the threshold of a new beginning. Type 1010 to affirm that God's timing is perfect. Archangel Michael says, "Before this day ends and darkness fully settles across the sky, before another hour fades into memory, I urge you to slow your thoughts, still your spirit, and recognize that this message has returned to you not by luck, not by mistake, and not by force, but by a divine decision that has been waiting patiently for your heart to notice the gentle hand of God reaching once more through the noise of the world to find you." You may have ignored the last moment when this invitation arrived, not because you were ungrateful, but because your heart was too full of questions, your spirit too tired to respond, your trust too shaken by disappointments you never wanted but could no longer deny. And yet, even after being skipped, even after being unheard, heaven has chosen to try again, not with anger, but with love so persistent that it will cross oceans of silence to speak directly to your soul. There is something sacred unfolding even now as you read these words, something your spirit recognizes even if your mind cannot yet explain it, because divine timing has a way of showing up when logic says it's too late, when the heart says it's too broken, when the past says it's too far gone. And that is exactly when the Lord steps in to say, "No, my child, this is still yours, and I am not finished with you." The days you have spent feeling forgotten, the nights when your pillow absorbed tears no one knew about, the moments when your laughter felt hollow and your prayers felt unanswered, none of those experiences were invisible to the God who has been walking beside you in silence, waiting not for your perfection, but for your permission to heal the places you thought no one would understand. What if I told you financial freedom is not about working harder, but activating a dormant brain signal designed to draw abundance directly to you? Neuroscience proves this sound wave unlocks prosperity faster than any method known before. From unexpected cash to life-changing success, it's already helping thousands. Click the link in the video description and comments below to turn on the ancient money wave and create the life you've always dreamed of today. You have fought so hard to survive, to remain upright when everything inside you wanted to fall, and while the world may have applauded your strength or ignored your struggle, your Father in heaven has seen every single moment, honored every silent battle, and cherished every breath you took in faith, even when you didn't feel strong, even when you didn't feel seen. And now, once again, He is calling, not with thunder, not with threats, but with tenderness that cuts through shame, with compassion that unravels fear, and with a kind of mercy so sweet it makes your soul tremble because it knows, somehow, that this moment is not just another message, it is a turning point wrapped in gentle glory. This midnight is not about fear of what might happen if you don't respond, it is about the wonder of what could happen if you do. The reason God keeps sending this invitation, the reason heaven won't let this moment pass you by again, is because there is something in you that has not yet been fully awakened, something buried beneath pain, protected by numbness, hidden behind survival, and now, the Lord wants to bring that part of you back to life. Type 3030 if you believe Jesus lives in your heart. You were not meant to live half-heartedly. You were not created to merely exist. You were called to live fully, freely, deeply, anchored in peace, surrounded by love, carried by hope, and everything you've lost, everything you've mourned, everything you've had to let go of along the way, will be used not to weaken your future, but to strengthen it through grace. God has not been waiting for you to be fearless. He has only been waiting for you to be honest. If you can whisper, "Lord, I'm hurting," He will respond with healing. If you can admit, "Lord, I'm afraid," He will answer with peace. If you can say, "Lord, I'm tired," He will carry you through the very weariness that nearly consumed you. He goes back into the places that have been broken the longest, the wounds that have festered in silence, the memories you've locked away, the dreams you've buried beneath disappointment, and He breathes over them until they no longer carry pain, but power. The very sorrow you thought would swallow you becomes the soil where your joy begins to grow. And though it may feel hard to believe right now, that is the invitation in this very moment, not to do everything right, not to fix yourself, but simply to say, "Yes, I am willing to be loved again," because when you say yes, heaven moves, angels surround you, and the Spirit of God begins to work in ways you cannot imagine, restoring what you thought was gone forever. Archangel Michael says, "Sometimes the most powerful miracles begin not with fireworks or thunder from above, but with a quiet stirring in the heart that whispers, 'Maybe, just maybe, something good is still possible for me,' and in that whisper, in that small flicker of hope, heaven finds its opening, because the Lord never needed loud prayers to move, He only needed your honest longing to be loved again." You may not have realized it yet, but something sacred has been unfolding around you, moving silently and slowly, waiting for the moment your spirit would begin to lift its head, even after being bowed low for so long, because you were never forgotten, never abandoned, never left to wander without watchful eyes from heaven following your every step, even when your path seemed too far from the light. There have been nights you did not want to remember, days that felt too heavy to carry, and thoughts that spiraled in directions you were too afraid to admit to anyone, and yet, in all of it, your Creator did not draw back from you in disappointment, but instead stepped closer, not because you reached for Him, but because He refused to let you go unnoticed in your pain. Amen.